Now from WATN, it's Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
We're glad to have you with us today and every Sunday as we try to give you the real story behind the big stories. Every Sunday at 9 a.m. and 10:35 p.m. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving, and our annual Thanksgiving tradition lives on today. More on that in a moment. But first, the Trump train. Let there be no doubt. Republicans representing Tennessee and Washington are on it. Now, a tweet from Senator Marsha Blackburn has spawned the hashtag Moscow Marsha, and it's already working its way into the 2020 U.S. Senate race. Extra, extra. We don't say this gladly, but a report this week on how newspapers are bleeding readers caught our attention because Memphis's Commercial Appeal newspaper is bleeding more than any other in the country. And our Turkey of the Year award, I'll ask each of my panelists who they think is most deserving of this highest of honors, one we award every year on this program. You don't want to miss who my panel chooses. Let me introduce my panel first. Local 24's Mike Matthews is here, as is political consultant Susan Adler-Thorpe and Local 24 political analyst and commentator Otis Sanford. All right, let's talk about the impeachment stuff first. It hasn't made its way into this program a lot because there hasn't been a lot of local connection, but Senator Marsha Blackburn changed that this week with a tweet that she sent out saying that Vindictive Vindman, referring to Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, who testified this week as a witness, she called him the whistleblower's handler. Now, viewers of this program know who the whistleblower is. They know the whistleblower is protected by law and should be protected by law because that is the intent of the law. And we also know that Lieutenant Colonel Vindman has said he does not know. Under oath, he has said, I don't know who the whistleblower is, but that wasn't good enough. She had to send out that tweet. Otis, your response?
Well, Richard, with all due respect, I think that Senator Blackburn has lost her mind here. She is carrying so much water for this president. She is defensive about him. He can do no wrong. She has chosen to go after this decorated military man who there's no evidence that he did anything improper. He said he came forward out of a sense of duty. And I believe that, as others have came forth out of a sense of duty. The people...
No political connections.
No political connections at all, as are most of the other people who testified here. They are career people who are doing what's best for the country. And we have someone like Marsha Blackburn who is just... vilifying this man needlessly. She deserves every bit of the criticism that she's getting.
Well, the hashtag Moscow Marsha is by no accident because people accuse her of doing Putin's work by saying what she's saying and tweeting what she's tweeting.
Well, yeah, and it'll stick like it has stuck to the leader of the Senate too,
Moscow Mitch. Mm-hmm.
But I have to disagree with you, Otis. You said that you think that Marsha Blackburn has lost her mind. I have to tell you, ever since I've been following Marsha Blackburn when she was in the state legislature, I don't think she had a mind to lose. So, no. Everything she's done has been only in her favor, for her benefit, and or much of what she's done has been for her benefit and not for the best interest, in the best interest of the public. She rips into Alexander Vindman, a Purple Heart recipient, in defense of a president who dodged the draft multiple times.
Right.
I mean, how does one make sense out of that? I mean, whatever comes out of Marsha Blackburn's mouth generally is very shallow and without much thought. And that's who the voters of Tennessee have put in as our U.S. Senator. We have to live with her, but there's no reason we can't criticize her.
Well, I'll tell you what, she's definitely doubling down. She was on Fox News and was asked, do you wish you had not sent out that tweet? Would you take it back? And she said, absolutely not. She stands by it.
You folks voted for her. The state voted for her. By a big margin, by the way. This is what you get. This is, as Susan said, she's the same Marsha Blackburn now as she was in the State House. She's the same Marsha Blackburn as she was in the House of Representatives. She's the same Marsha Blackburn. She hasn't changed a bit. So should this surprise anybody? No, not really. She is one politician whose whole idea of work is to self-preservation. I'm going to get through this, and I'm going to be elected, and if it means I have to kiss the butt of any president of the United States to do it, to this president, she does it. That's what she does. That's what she said when she ran for the election. She said that's what she was. She was a Trump supporter. She's on the Trump train, and she's not getting off.
Well, you know, I always like to be devil's advocate with you guys on this one, but I just don't know how you defend what she did and what she said. James Mackler is a Democrat running for Senate in the 2020 race, Lamar Alexander's seat. And he sent out a tweet that said, Moscow Marsha isn't on the ballot in 20, but my opponents for the open Tennessee Senate seat will be her clone. I am a combat veteran and running because Tennessee needs a senator to stand up for what's right and stand up to any president when they're wrong. Now, this particular candidate is an Army helicopter pilot. He closed his law practice after 9/11 to go fight in Iraq, and I think he found from a political standpoint, a real opportunity here.
Oh, absolutely, I think he did. I mean, if this weren't Tennessee, he would be the ideal candidate to run for the U.S. Senate. He's been planning to run for quite a while. He wanted to run for the seat that Marsha Blackburn did win, but he deferred in favor of Phil Bredesen. I think he's come back now, and he's really, I think he has found a good issue here. But again, we're in Tennessee here, Richard, and it's going to be very difficult for him in such a red state because, frankly and sadly, there are a lot of people out there who probably agree with Marsha Blackburn, and anyone who dares to criticize this president, I don't care if you're a Purple Heart recipient or a Medal of Honor recipient, you are the enemy. And that's the way a lot of people will see anybody who attacks this president.
Well, you have to remember, too, that this president, from the very beginning of his candidacy for president, when he attacked the late Senator John McCain and said that he didn't respect anyone that was captured as a prisoner of war. I mean, I don't know how low our political discourse can really go, but Marsha Blackburn didn't help it one bit.
It was pretty low, for sure.
I think you can get a shovel out and keep digging. It's going to get lower than that still. I mean, take a look at what's going on here now. I watch cable news like a lot of people, and I firmly believe that what we see coming on in cable news concerning this situation concerning impeachment is all inside the Beltway. When I talk to people in Memphis and I talk to people around, I get no indication from anybody that this thing is getting any type of leverage, any type of traction at all.
Impeachment, yeah.
There's none whatsoever about it. It is not part of the daily conversation. So what Marsha Blackburn says, they're just going to blow it off.
Tweet it away. Going to the Twitter. All right. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about some disappointing news concerning our local newspaper when we come right back.
Cigna knows you're more than just a number. That's why Cigna Medicare Advantage treats you like a whole person, body and mind, for a cost that makes sense for you. Start enjoying more coverage for less. Call 1-855-552-0688. With Cigna, you get medical, dental, vision, and prescriptions in one plan. A team of doctors for your overall health, and healthy living programs to save you money. Plus, no monthly premium and only a $5 specialist copay. Medicare annual enrollment is now. Make sure you have the right plan for the right price. Call now to get your free Medicare Advantage guide and learn how to get a complete plan that fits your budget. Call 1-855-552-0688. That's 1-855-552-0688. Or visit GetCignaMedicare.com. Cigna, together all the way.
From a galaxy far, far away, it's Chewbacca and Yoda Chia Pets, the pottery that grows. Just soak your chia, spread the seeds, water, and watch it grow.
Chia. Groot.
Now Groot is a chia pet, too. Anyone else want to be a chia pet?
I'll do it. I'll be the plant. You are a plant.
Golden Girls Chia Pets.
Chia.
Chia Pets, the gift that grows.
At Walgreens, CVS, Target, and Walmart. Makes a great gift.
Everyone has a story.
You can overcome.
Stories that matter and are important to you.
Voice to the voiceless.
Stories of grief, triumph, tragedy, and hope. Local 24 News is committed to telling your story, keeping you informed, keeping you safe. Local 24 News with Richard Ransom and Katina Rankin. Telling your story. You're watching Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
All right, we're back on Local 24 this week to talk about some numbers that came out when it comes to newspaper circulation. Of course, that's how newspapers make their money, how many people read their newspaper. And the Memphis Business Journal out with a story that ranked all of the newspapers in the country, those owned by Gannett and another company, Gatehouse, which is basically all the newspapers now that are left. And found that 88% of the 200 newspapers in this country are losing readers, but the worst is the commercial appeals. You can see there, which I just thought this number was astounding. 47% over the last 2 years. The Tennessean was next at almost 40%. Then the Record out of New Jersey down 38%. The News Journal out of Newcastle, Delaware down 37%, and the Courier Journal out of Louisville down 36%. I know there are a lot of factors here, but I notice people within the business have been talking about the decline of the newspaper for a long time. But you two have worked there. It saddens me. I know more people that work for the Daily Memphian now that work for the Commercial Appeal. They're trying, but boy, they can't be encouraged by these numbers and knowing that Gannett has to cut $300 million very soon.
That's
and
right.
The purpose of the article is say, well, where are they going to cut? Probably the ones that are bleeding the most.
Well, but they're saying, the executives are saying that they are not going to touch the newsrooms as much as people are saying that they are. This is really bad news, Richard. You know, we did work at the Commercial Appeal for a long time. I grew up on the Commercial Appeal, so I cannot be happy about this. I will say that Mark Russell, the executive editor of the Commercial Appeal, has done a fabulous job of trying to reclaim some journalism territory here. When a lot of people left the staff and went to the Daily Memphian, he went out and basically rebuilt a staff, and he got a lot of young, energetic people.
Very hungry.
And very hungry, and they are doing some good job.
Yep.
Good job. We've had one or two of them here on the show. So I give him a lot of credit for that. But there is a reason here, I believe, that the Commercial Appeal has lost 47% readership since 2017. It was 51,000 in 2017. Now it's around 27,005. People were angry at the Commercial Appeal. They were angry at what Gannett did to the Commercial Appeal when they bought it, taking the printing away from Memphis, sending it to Jackson, having the deadlines where you don't have anything in there, gutting the staff where Memphis has always had robust newspapers. They were angry, and the only way that they could show that anger was with their subscriptions, and that's what they did, and the numbers pointed out right now. I get no joy in saying this, but that's exactly what happened.
Well, how many instances were there, Susan, where the opening of a McDonald's in Nashville would make it into the Commercial Appeal in Memphis? I mean, there was just no rhyme or reason to it.
Well, that's after Gannett bought it out, and it's edited somewhere in Iowa, I think, and what does somebody sitting in Iowa City know where Knoxville is or Memphis is? They've got no idea, so they throw it into the Tennessee edition of the USA Today, and that's really at that time what we had become. But Otis is right, and I want to add to it. I mean, we were both there at the same time, and we both have a deep love and a deep respect for our daily newspaper. But part of it too is when they gutted their staff, and these are reporters people had followed for years and years. Now, this is before the Daily Memphian came in and poached the rest of them. Right. But they also raised the prices of a subscription. I mean, people were complaining how expensive it was getting for what.
Right.
And so people just decided that they were going to cancel subscriptions, which was unfortunate. But I also want to echo something Otis said. I, too, think Mark Russell has done a yeoman's job in the last year of trying to rebuild that staff. He's really hired some really fine young reporters who are aggressive, who want to get the news and give it to us. And I think he has to be applauded for that. And also, I have to question here the business plan of the Daily Memphian. I mean, basically all they did was poach reporters, pay them more money from the Commercial Appeal. What they did was they took the Commercial Appeal and gave it a new address. And you know, I'm not sure how that business plan is going to work in the long run either, because they're going to have to pay those high salaries, and they're going to have to keep going back as a nonprofit, raising money year after year after year, and a lot of their funders are getting old, and at some point sources are going to start to dry up.
You look at that list: the Commercial Appeal, the Tennessean, the Courier Journal, 3 good newspapers, 3 really good newspapers at one time. I won't lie to you, when I first came to Memphis in 1997, I didn't like the commercial appeal reporters. I didn't like them at all. Why? Because they were cocky and they were arrogant.
And they hated TV.
And they were good. Yeah, they were cocky and arrogant, and they were good. They were real good, and they knew it. Okay, I had to respect their abilities, and I don't feel that way anymore. Now, yes, you have a new staff out there, and new people doing the best they can, and they are aggressive and they are young, but what's happened here is, if this is a sign of what's going on in the future, our business, the news business, is in a lot of trouble, because you've got to have good, solid newspapers to go hand in hand with good, solid television news broadcast in order to inform the public. They can work together. And in this case, if I see a newspaper go down, that usually means the start of everything's going to start to fall.
I'm not so sure the commercial appeal is going to go down. I think that the commercial appeal will be here for a good while. But I think that young people, and I'm not part of that group anymore, but young people, the 40 and younger, that you ask them, where do you get your news from? At social media. They go on to Facebook. They get their news from social media, Facebook, whether it's real or alternative news. Or, oh, somebody will have to tell me about it when we're at dinner somewhere. Or maybe they get it on Instagram or in a tweet. So that's tough competition.
I wonder what the
paper.
literacy rate in Memphis, what role that has in all of this too, that we would be the sharpest drop of any newspaper in the country.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, we've always had a literacy issue in this town. I mean, we've been battling that for many years. So, I mean, I guess you cannot keep that out of the equation. But I think beyond that, though, Memphis has always had very robust newspaper influence and readership. It's been like that for over 100 years. Very briefly, to respond to something Susan said about the Daily Memphian, and I have to say this saying that I do write a column for the Daily Memphian. But you make a good point about what is the sustainable model there. I think that is evolving, because I do believe, and I'm using my academic hat here, academically, there's no question that the future of journalism is online. There's no doubt about that. And everybody sees that, including Gannett. And so figuring out that business plan, that model going forward, because that's where everybody's going, I think actually the Daily Memphian might be in a good place. We'll just have to see where the leadership takes it in terms of the plan.
Real quick.
We've always had a saying in Memphis that there are two things that hold this city together: love for the University of Memphis Tigers, and hatred for the commercial people.
That's right.
But that was in a good way.
That was in a good way.
We do wish them luck, because when local journalism is struggling, then I think the community struggle too.
That's right.
But we'll see. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, what you've been waiting for all of the half hour here, and that is our Turkey of the Year awards. Who is going to win? I'll talk to each of my panelists, ask them who they nominate for that award next.
Eligible for Medicare or Medicaid? It's time to get coverage you can count on. WellCare Medicare Advantage Plan gives those with limited income more benefits now. Get more dental, more vision, more hearing, plus prescription drug coverage with free home delivery, all at no extra cost. Enjoy all of this for zero or low plan premiums and copays. For more than 30 years, WellCare has been providing exceptional savings, service, plus access to the doctors and pharmacies you need. Now you get more benefits like free transportation with the Medicare Advantage plan from WellCare. Choose a plan that enhances your health with coverage you can count on. Not sure if you qualify for zero plan premiums? Let us walk you through it. We can also help you enroll over the phone. Call 1-866-819-7963.
5 steps for perfect winter skin.
5 steps? My skin gets so dry and itchy, I need serious relief. That's why I use O'Keefe Skin Repair. It's 48-hour moisture in one use and guaranteed relief for dry, itchy skin. Thanks to O'Keefe's, I got my skin back.
Saharovich and Trotz, we're always ready to help.
MSD is the way to go. Call 683-7000.
Lowe's helps you do hosting right. With the best prices of the year on appliances to help you handle anything and everything. Shop now for appliance savings like these. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's.
You're watching Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
We've got a whole year since our last Turkey of the Year awards to mull this over. Who might be the recipient this year? We're going to start with Mike Matthews. Mike Matthews, who is your Turkey of the Year?
For the third year in a row, he makes our list. Berlin Boyd, city councilman who will soon be out at the end of December. Berlin Boyd ran a campaign that was strange, to put it mildly. He would put these billboards up in areas outside of his district. He, from what I heard, didn't do a whole lot of campaigning in the poorer areas of the district. He represents one of the poorest districts on city council, but he lives on Mud Island, which happens to be in that district too, see. But I also saw him, if you put him on, if you go on Google and you say Berlin Boyd, you get that quote, "Your mama." And that just, you know, was funny at the time, and everybody thought, oh, that's great. But it brought a lot of shame to this city. It weakened, I think, the city council's, people's opinion of the city council. And it was just a disaster all the way around.
So he goes into the Turkey of the Year Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame.
Very good. All right, Susan?
Well, my Turkey of the Year is the political activist Angela Rye. She's a CNN commentator at times, and she came flitting into town in support of Tammy Sawyer's mayoral campaign, and she said, I don't know Mayor Jim Strickland, but he's a racist. And to call Jim Strickland a racist, I mean, you can call Otis a racist, you call me a racist, and you'd probably be closer to the truth than calling Jim Strickland a racist. The man, people were in shock. And I think that really cost Tammy Sawyer part of her campaign, a piece of that campaign, because after that, Tammy Sawyer refused to denounce her and said, oh, that's what Angela Rye said, but I'm not going to denounce anyone who comes here in support of me. Plus, I think the media is a little bit, is a little turkey, little Turkey of the Year, because they, in my opinion, overplayed Tammy Sawyer's potential as a winner in the mayoral campaign. She spent a lot of, she relied a lot on the youth movement, on social media, and the traditional media bought into that and didn't do its homework, didn't watch the polls, and didn't really have a pulse on the community, instead tried to promote her, and it showed that what the media does in relation to a person's election viability isn't always the same.
It might have been overrepresented. I think that's her coverage.
But, you know, it's definitely Angela Rye. Is the Turkey of the Year.
Politicians of all stripes fall into the trap often of believing all the hype from their supporters and the bubble of their social media accounts and everything, and you know, the 6% that she got shows that it wasn't nearly as deep.
Polls from the beginning to the end showed her that she was getting anywhere from 5 to 10%. Yep, right. But after her tweets came out, she slipped way back.
All right, Otis, yours.
Well, mine is no secret. We've already talked about it. It's Senator Marsha Blackburn. She is my clear Turkey of the Year.
No debate.
No debate at all. Okay. I mean, this is for someone, and she came out of, came out of nowhere to win this one, because what she did that was most egregious just happened a week or so ago. But to call this man, Lieutenant Alexander Vindman, vindictive Vindman, using the same kind of Twitter fodder that the president uses, calling people names, was just beneath the dignity of our office, but it was also shameful. It was a disgrace. And this man is a decorated hero, doing things out of a sense of duty. These people are giving their lives, being in far-flung countries and doing dangerous things, and she attacks him that way. There's no question in my mind that she is my Turkey of the Year.
All right, very good. My turkeys of the year, I'm cheating a little bit, are the three main candidates for Memphis mayor this time around. Tammy Sawyer, the incumbent, Jim Strickland, and Willie Harrington. Not so much because of who they are as politicians, but the kind of candidate they were and the campaign that they ran. I thought, Tammy, we went through some of her mistakes, but I thought just foolish the way she didn't talk to the media, thought she was above that, wouldn't address the criticism initially with the Twitter account and other things that happened. Just didn't run a good campaign at all. Jim Strickland, I wished he had debated somebody. I understand politically why he did not, but I think it's a shame that the incumbent mayor was not held accountable in a televised debate at any time during the campaign. And Willie Harrington, you know, arrogance amok. He was not accessible. He didn't seem serious about really wanting to be mayor again based on how inaccessible he was during the entire campaign. It was just, the whole thing was joy. He didn't want to debate either. But, you know, and here we sit.
Yeah.
But,
well, the night before election, election day, I ran into him at Houston's restaurant. So that tells you how serious he really was. Right. But at least he was wearing a Harrington for Mayor t-shirt.
Well, that's good.
There you go.
Maybe he was just needing a last laugh. I don't know. But we shouldn't end by not also talking about what we're grateful for this time of year as you look at what's transpired in the past week. What hits your mind there? Otis?
Well, again, it goes back to what we've talked about also. I am grateful that despite all the bad news that we just talked about with the commercial appeal, I am grateful that there's still some robust journalism still going on in this community. Again, the commercial appeal is doing everything that it can do. The Daily Memphian, even though it's still trying to get its sea legs, it's out there doing things. MLK 50 is even doing some good stuff. The television stations, I think, are stepping up their games. Tri-State Defender is out there. We still have, and the business, let's not leave out the Business Journal and the Flyer. We still have some good journalism going on in this community. We have the Institute for Public Service Journalism at the university. So I am grateful and thankful that journalism still lives even in this bad news.
I'm going to have to be grateful that that's what you said because that's the final word. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. You're being so eloquent.
I'm Ultima Morgan. Our attorneys are trained not to settle your case for anything less than everything you deserve. All law firms are not the same. There's only one Morgan & Morgan.
There's a new pet. The uncontrollably exciting Rick and Morty Chia Pets. And your favorite painter, Bob Ross Chia Pet.
Fantastic.
Just soak your chia, spread the seeds, water, and watch it grow. And what's that? Unicorn and Llama Chia Pets. Wax on, wax off Chia with Karate Kid Chia Pet. And from the hit movie It, Pennywise Chia Pet. Chia Pets, the gift that grows.
At Walgreens, CVS, Target, and Walmart. Makes a great gift.
I'm attorney Mike Montesi. I get injured people all the money they deserve.
Call 526-2126.
Join Annette Hegler and Ed Eccles on the weekend. Only on Local 24.
Everyone who has ever lived has lived here. All of mankind's triumphs and failures. Every moment, every hometown, all here. We start our coverage on the ground and take it to the airwaves, so you always know what's happening in your own world and beyond. We are free TV and radio. We are breaking news. We are always there. We are broadcasters.
Joy. It comes in all shapes and sizes. It bounces, reflects, and shines bright. Joy can light up the sky and bring the biggest smile to the smallest face. Every kid deserves a little joy. A toy. It's not just a thing. It's a chance to spread joy from one person to another and say your joy matters. This holiday season, help to share the joy. Join the world's ultimate toy drive and donate a new unwrapped toy to Toys for Tots. Go to toysfortots.org/holiday for details.
All right, we want to thank you for being here. Before we do, I want to give you our email address if you'd like to weigh in on the broadcast today. It's rransom@localmemphis.com, rransom@localmemphis.com. Otis, Susan, Mike, thanks for being here. Happy Thanksgiving to you and to you at home. We'll see you next week for Local 24 This Week.